Welcome back, everyone. This is the weekly performance report. Sorry for the late upload, but well, I almost forgot to even make this video, so here we are. Noticeable activities over the last week. I bought more Rubicon Organics and I entered a tiny little position into Organigram. I noted on last Friday, not 2 days ago Friday, but the Friday before that, that OGI, that's the ticker symbol, filled the gap from their Q3 report. As you can see in this image, popped on August 12th. Back in August, OGI managed to run up roughly 43% due to a good earnings report, to then subsequently bleed off 30% for the next 3 months. They printed positive net income and lowered their SG&A margins, all while growing revenues. Not to mention that they have leading brands in their respective categories. Link in the article. Top 5 brands per category by units sold. And you'll see Shred in the dried flower section. And then you'll see Shred X in the infused pre-rolls. And then you'll see Shred X in the concentrates. And for those wondering, Kronos also, which I recently sold and might buy back, might not, see what happens. Spinach, which is Kronos' brand, has second spot in dried flower, and then the 5th spot in infused pre-rolls, and then the 4th spot in vapes. Just something worth knowing. Now, in all fairness, these dynamics aren't unique to just them. Many of the Canadian players are improving to one extent or another. But a positive net income figure catches my attention, especially in this space and sector. Even with all the accounting shenanigans that the C-suites try to pull off, they still often can't get to a positive net income figure. I find it extremely odd, yet predictable, that the vast majority of people who talk about this space spend 90% of their time talking about politics, 15% on the sector, mostly some sort of talk around what's going on in the newer state, and 5% of their time will be spent on a superficial overview of quarterly earnings or the such. And at no point in time will they mention Canada. The only time it seemingly does come up is in a conversation and when someone says that California or Michigan sales are as large as the Canadian market. They'll talk about how cannabis is a global opportunity and leave out the predominant exporters to that global market. They'll talk about the industry while excluding one of the largest markets, Canada. Sure, they have their casual dismissal reasoning which provides them ostensible cover, but it often boils down to them being superficial, intellectually lethargic, and myopically caught up in home bias. The predominant reason that they even talk about Germany is because it's novel, and it practically always gets brought back to Curaleaf. It should be of no wonder that an industry full of hastily generalizing investors who view matters mostly on an abstract and low-resolution level don't notice such things as positive net income earners. And this is a chart. Let me see if I can zoom in. And here we have 3 of them. OGI, HITI, and SSLCF. So Organigram, High Tide, and Simply Solventless. And yet, you practically hear nothing of them. High Tide gets some attention, but even then. With that said, I ended the week up 0.69%, and you can see, where's my Organigram? Oh, here we go. I'm up 1%. Whoop-de-doo. It's a 1% position that's up 1%. I bought it. Yeah, see what happens. Now, here's something funny. I was sick earlier in the week, which is one reason why I didn't make this video earlier and then subsequently forgot about it. So my voice wasn't doing well. So that's why I didn't make the video earlier. But interestingly enough, on, I believe it was Wednesday, November 20th, Hindenburg Research, Carson Block, released a short report on e.l.f., which is a position of mine, e.l.f. Beauty. And I had no idea. I was sick for a couple of days. I didn't really look at markets. I kind of looked at the end of day portfolio to see what moved and how much things moved. But that's the end of day. There's a lot of intraday activity that goes on. And I did not realize until today that it fell 15% or so on Wednesday, that report. So it fell 15% and then it bounced up to close the day out 3%. Had no idea. And I say that, well, just to be transparent and honest. And it's kind of funny that in some sense, in some ways, depending on your personality and character and what all you got going on in life, people work jobs, have families, social lives, so on and so forth. And it's fascinating that something like that could occur. I mean, it's not fascinating. It's interesting to think that something like that could occur and me be clueless for days. And interestingly enough, I believe it actually closed up on the week, I want to say. I think it actually closed up on the week given that. Yes, it did. So it closed up 7% on the week. Even though it had an intra-week drawdown of, let's call it 13%, something like that. But had no idea. And I just thought I'd share that with you as a point of transparency. And the frustrating part in that is that means I also wasn't there to buy the dip. Because as much as people want to bemoan about market manipulation and short sellers and blah, 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 what I will note is that if you believe in something, then that provides you an ample opportunity to get in at a cheaper price. For instance, I entered my ELF position, let's call it roughly $116. I want to say something like that. And then it fell all the way down to $105. Was I not sick and paying attention to my screens and such, I could have averaged down on my position. And then same thing with Green Thumb. I was away from my screens that day after the November 6th elections and such, and the Florida measure ballot didn't pass. The beginning of the day, it was to $5. And I want to say, I could be mistaken here, I can't remember exactly how this works, but Fidelity won't let me put in a limit order just for any price. Or there's something going on, because I've tried this before, where I've tried to ladder buy limit orders, like with Grown Rogue, and something happened or has happened where Fidelity won't allow me. I think maybe if it's below a certain price. No, it's with sell. It's with sell orders. It won't let me post a sell order. So say a True Leaf, this is a real example, because once I saw that, I just put in a sell order. But it won't let me put in a sell order below a certain price, which means it actually saved me like 20 or 30% of a loss, because I knew I was going to be away from my screens, and it didn't execute the limit order because it was too low. But being away from my screens prevented me from being able to buy Green Thumb at $5, because I don't know, it fell 50% and then bounced a good portion only in the day down 25%. So there's what I'm getting at here is there's this interesting juxtaposition of how they say don't stay glued to your screens and go outside and live life. But on the same token, there's these little blips and opportunities that are afforded to you that if you're not paying attention, you might miss. Now, of course, you can keep cash on your balance and have your limit orders, and oftentimes that works well enough, especially for higher volume and non-OTC stocks and such. But if you don't have that in place, then you miss opportunities. missed opportunity on Green Rogue. I'm not Green Rogue, on Green Thumb, missed an opportunity on Elf as a consequence. My throat's not doing the best, so pardon me. Rubicon Organics. I said I bought more of that. I don't know why, but sometime last week, it closed, I think Thursday, it fell 20%. I don't know why. And yet again, I was away from my screens and I didn't buy it. So I saw that later that evening. Let's call it Thursday. And so I put in a limit order, knowing that I was going to be away from my screens on Friday morning, and try to get in. Well, sure enough, it closed Friday up 12%. But as a consequence of, so that I missed out on 8%. So I bought it for, say, 23 cents a share, went up 24 cents a share. I was up 4% on my purchase. But had I been around at the end of the market Thursday, I could have been up 12%. So yet again, in some way, like I know when I go on vacations, and women and myself too don't really care to be on my phone all the time because you're on vacation, so you kind of need to clear your mind anyway, but also just enjoy life and not be a bother to the people you're around. So I would always say, hey, I need to be around the internet. We can go on some hiking trail in the middle of nowhere or whatever, but I need to be to the internet around market open and market close. So depending on what time zone you're in, you have to adjust accordingly, and that's how that goes. And so it does affect your life even when you're on vacation. It doesn't have to. You could, like I said, keep your core positions and sell off things that you care less about, their swing trades or whatnot, and then have some cash and have your limit orders in and so on and so forth. But the Green Thumb incident, the Rubicon Organics incident, and then the Elf incident, and seemingly maybe I mentioned another one, I don't know. Maybe not. So that's 3 incidents in the last, call it 2 weeks, that I've experienced where I've left money on the table. And that's just a consequence of, life. There really wasn't anything I could do within reason to avoid those circumstances. And it is what it is. But it's just an interesting dynamic I thought I'd share with you all. So with that said, I think I'll end it here. So thank you for watching, and until next time.